obviously talking about, well, if you looked at the video, we're talking about George Floyd. We're talking about Eagle Nation, Michael Funk. But I guess here at the beginning, I should go ahead and talk a little bit about the most, popular, the most talked about news at the moment. The fact that Stephen Avery was diagnosed with COVID-19. Okay, so just so you folks know, Sandy Greenman has already talked to him, and she knows what's going on, folks. Stephen got a mild case. He's already pretty much sounding like he's on the mend. He's quarantined into his cell, but by all reports, he is doing just fine. He's recovering, and he's going to be just fine. So that's what happened there. But I didn't want everybody to be shocked that, oh my God, Avery has COVID-19. Yes, did get it, but it's not. He's doing fine. He's not having any kind of any serious reactions in terms of having any immune system deficiencies. It seems like his immune system was able to deal with it pretty well. So
mild case.
Yeah. All right. So
wow, somebody just said Dave Bogatka has been diagnosed with it too.
Dave Bogatka did a video today that I haven't got to see yet. Talking about the fact that Stephen was. So maybe in that video, Dave shared with everybody that he was. So I'll have to go check that one out. But I hope he's doing all right. I mean, if he did a video, it leads me to believe Dave's doing okay. So I'll have to go check out that video later. Anyways, anybody else that wants to go check out that video later, go ahead over on Dave Bogatka's channel. So maybe a mod will pop in here at some point and put a link for it.
I'm here, but
unfortunately, the two mods that I have here in chat are also right here with me, so they're not really free to go do that. So, so anyway, so we're here today to talk about George Floyd. I mean, that's where we're starting today, is with George Floyd, obviously, because this current situation here in America has, it's set off a powder keg. Literally, Officer Chauvin, one man alone here in a lot of ways, although his fellow officers are catching a lot of heat because even other law enforcement officers are really critically criticizing the fact that those other officers did jack squat.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of blame, but mainly the fact that Chauvin, for some reason, thought he needed to, I don't know, display his manhood or whatever the hell it was that he was doing there, kneeling on the neck of a handcuffed suspect. So, I mean, obviously, lots of people are weighing in. In fact, we're gonna see here in a little while, we're going to see a Facebook post from a police department, a chief at a police department, and you're gonna see the types of things that law enforcement are saying about the law enforcement officers in this situation. So everybody is properly in the understanding of the fact that these guys were wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really, it's no brainer at this point that everybody knows it. Wait, except for one dickhead in Mississippi, some mayor in Mississippi, who for some reason yesterday decided to utter the words, well, if he was saying I can't breathe, he was breathing
because he's talking.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So, but then again, folks, that's Mississippi. That's where you got Haig, the medical examiner, who and Mike West, the bite mark guy. Remember him?
Yeah, he's great. Whoa, proud to you there. Yeah.
Sorry, not Haig. Hain was that guy, the medical examiner. So that was Mississippi, and anyway, So that might lead you to understand why some mayor in Mississippi might have said something so cruel and heartless and callous. But for the most part, besides that one idiot in Mississippi, most everybody else is viewing this and going, yeah, this is absolutely wrong. There's no question of it.
Right.
Okay. Having said that, the protesting is muddying the water in a lot of ways. Number one, because it's not really needed right now. Protesting would really, I love everybody who's peacefully protesting. I want to make that clear right now. But I just think the protesting right now is less effective than it will be if the courts screw this up. So we need to be protesting outside the courthouse or something when this case is going on, so that everybody knows that the world is serious about this, that we're not just looking away. So it would make more sense for the attention and the pressure to be put on at that time, because right now everybody is on the same page that this was horribly tragic and wrong, and these officers should meet with consequences. So I mean, I don't think there's any disagreement on that. So that gets us to this point of, so what's happening with this muddying of the water? How's that happening? What's going on with that? Well, some of it is that some of these peaceful protests, end up getting a few bad apples involved that end up, doing things and getting the attention of law enforcement. And then law enforcement starts firing rubber bullets into a primarily peaceful, protest, and things start to go awry. So that's how the water gets muddied. In one way, that's the way the water gets
news
muddied.
Reporters.
Right, and at news reporters and stuff.
Yeah, arresting them and a whole bunch of things.
Because, when the police think there's violence or a threat, then they'll react, right? So why are peaceful protests suddenly somehow becoming violent or becoming destructive? You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, there's a lot of factors, but I'll tell you, and I'm going to say my thing, and I'm going to let Jamie and Linda maybe give you some of their ideas on this. But I was reading something yesterday where in one of the places where the rioting and stuff was happening, there was a bus that got pulled over. It was painted really colorfully and stuff, almost kind of like a hippie bus kind of. But anyways, they pulled this thing over, and it turned out that this bus was full of like meat cleavers and baseball bats and bricks. And things like it was like chock full of like this kind of stuff. It's like those are just tools for mayhem. So what the hell would somebody be filling a bus with those things for? I mean, that shows some preparation to me, that somebody was preparing for this and looking to exploit a situation like this. You know what I mean? To bring that kind of stuff. So that was something I noticed. So we all need to be vigilant, and we need to be watching this situation, because we need to identify where the bad element is coming from. It's hard to do because they're all mixing in with the crowd, but we all need to keep our eyes open. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll start with Linda. Anything you've noticed in regards to fishiness of why these protests may be turning when they shouldn't, and then we'll go to Jamie.
Of course, I got a lot to say about that, considering we're the first damn city that was doing it all. I noticed the cars with the dark tint. I mean, almost blackened out. Lots of them gathering in parking lots the second day after the protest. There was pallets of bricks being towed along into these businesses, and they were actually picking them out of the debris and putting them back onto the pallets. And there's been water bottles and bags full of paper and lighting things. But the strangest one that I heard and seen today was for the sit down to breathe protest they had at the Capitol. There was a medical van there, marked medical. And when they opened it up, there was igniters in there. There was flu, like gas and lighting, things like that. And then there was bats with nails. Yeah, flammables. That's what I was looking for. There was bats with nails on them and bricks. And this was a van marked medical, sitting right there in front of the Capitol. So, they were ready to do that. So thank God they got that,
Right. And you gotta ask yourself, was somebody able to procure a medical vehicle to do that? I mean, that's an interesting. How does a medical vehicle get filled with all that stuff? I mean,
there's got to be somebody. Plus the St. Paul cop that was identified as to starting the auto zone on fire next to the 3rd precincts in Minneapolis on the first night. So there's a group of people out there doing this, and they are just ready to. All they want to do is start riots and mayhem and anarchy. That's it. That's all they care about.
yeah, it's in, like I said, it's unhelpful. I guess Kevin here likes it. Well,
Yeah,
like I
Kevin
said,
likes it.
the destruction and the mayhem is not
He wouldn't
helpful.
like, yeah, he wouldn't like it in his neighborhood. I'll tell you what, it's pretty scary when you have helicopters going over your house and you hear bullhorns and you see military walking down the street. It's really not. It feels like a war zone. So I would wonder if he would really like that in his backyard and be scared for your grandchildren and your neighborhood to burn down.
Yeah. It's not good. And like I said, the ultimate goal here, folks, is that justice is done. That means in the courts. And this violent protesting and looting, that's just selfish people. Just they're being selfish and using this situation for their own selfish desires. You know what I mean? And that's all that is. The people that are out there peacefully protesting, like for instance, I'll let Jamie talk now about a gentleman he saw on the news.
Yeah, we had a guy in Fargo that was explaining that the protest was scheduled from like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and that most of the people that were there, it was peaceful up until after that point. This guy had stated that he was at home already when all the destruction started.
Right.
And I believe him. He was actually there the next day helping clean up of what happened. The next day, the whole city came to and cleaned up a lot of the mess. I mean, they busted up historical buildings. We didn't have as many of the fires, and our police department up here we're in a smaller region, so our police department was actually pretty well prepared for this. So that was something that it was good to see that it didn't last long up here. You know, um, I would like to respond to Kevin though. I mean, yes, there is something that needs to be done about this, but there's some after effects that a lot of these Antifa guys that are doing this, busting stuff up, and
Yeah,
maybe they don't care because mom and dad are paying their taxes and property taxes, but all
right,
this stuff is going to do is increase pricing from those
right.
businesses that we frequent. It's going to increase insurance rates
Yep.
for businesses because now they got to worry about idiots out there, breaking buildings. I mean, if you ever saw what it costs to get glass installed on a whole front of your building, yeah, that's going to be reflected in when you go to patronize that place. And what did they do to anybody?
And our
But
buildings are historical and they can never be replaced. I mean, it is sad. And the mom and pop shops that just opened up from COVID are just starting to open up. Now they'll never be able to open up again. And they didn't do anything.
and
You know?
Kevin, if you're still listening, I'm not saying that protesting should not have been done. It absolutely it
Oh, I
needed to
agree.
be done,
Yeah.
and it needed to be done countrywide.
Right.
There is the police departments need to be retrained on their tactics for once a suspect is secured. This whole 5 minutes on his neck. That was completely uncalled for, and there's many other things it's not.
Right.
I mean, Minneapolis.
Yeah, I want to say something in here. They are doing an investigation on civil rights in the Minneapolis department. They're doing a whole civil rights investigation. So that is good because there's a lot of issues there, Jamie. You're right.
Well, and Kevin had said it took what it took for them to listen. Well, most of America is listening. Now, granted, we're not police departments, but
Right.
and the best way that I can put this is white America is listening too. We're pissed off about this too. That should have never happened to that man.
That's right.
There's multiple cases around the country. We see the shootings for sure of people that and one of them in Minneapolis, which Eric Cozy was going to bring up, is Philando Castilla. That should have never happened. That was another bullshit case, and this is Minneapolis. It right now is leading the country right now as far as stupid cops. Sorry to say this. I mean,
No, you don't have to be sorry. It's true.
Well, and I'm not anti-law enforcement, not
I'm not either.
whatsoever.
But there's a lot of bad cops there.
Today we actually had a funeral for my future son-in-law's cousin who was killed by a guy he was going to serve eviction papers on.
Sad. Wow.
You know, that shouldn't happen either. You know,
Right.
there's two sides to this coin. That coin for what's going on with profiling on the cop side, yeah, that's definitely bullshit as well. That shouldn't be happening either. Going with the protesting, yeah, the one of the things I wanted to say about how these bricks and stuff like this are turning up. Many people are not going to be paying out of their pocket with their stimulus money to go buy bricks to go and vandalize.
Right. Well organized.
That somebody is paying for the after, not the actual protest, but the riot. Somebody's paying for this.
Yes.
Secondly, is that many of the even the riots, they're just damaging buildings and property. But the fact that the one that Linda is talking about in Minneapolis, where they had bats with nails in them, tells me they wanted to hurt people, because bats with nails aren't going to do anything to a building. They'll even have trouble breaking glass.
Well, the building was completely covered too, so with wood and tankers, so they couldn't get at it. You know, it was a planned thing to hurt people. I agree with you.
And my point is just that if they had bats with nails and machetes or whatever you want to call them,
weapons,
those were weapons against people. Those weren't weapons to vandalize. And now you're at another problem that's being created from this. And we've seen in a couple places, New York. I can't remember if it was New York or Dallas, where they beat a shop owner and his wife with 2x4s.
Wow.
And the one died. Yeah. I mean, that's not. So some shop owner is being killed over something that a cop in Minneapolis did in a completely different state.
And officers are dying too. There's a couple officers that were shot and killed during this. I'm not sure what state. Forgive me, I don't pay attention to that. But there are a lot of people being hurt, physically hurt.
Yeah.
And here's my thing about this is that if you want to see more divide, that's how it's gonna happen. Right. If you're out there starting to kill people, some shop owner over this, nobody is saying that him dying is right. No, it's absolutely wrong. It never should have. But killing other people is wrong too.
It's just it. Two wrongs don't make a right. If you want to be outraged about one injustice, you don't go out creating another. That doesn't make sense. So I mean, that's what it's obviously not being considered. That's why the people that go out and protest peacefully are the sincere people who care and want to see change. The people that are out breaking and destroying and hurting people, those are bad people who are looking to gain for themselves, or have some personal issue or reason for doing what they're doing, but it's not for the greater good. It's not for your and I's and everybody else's good. Right. Okay, it's their own selfish desire.
Here's something, and Kevin, you are right here. There is another way to look at this, and he is saying a peaceful protest. The justice system would have not thought twice about the killing, like the $1 million bullet, and they didn't listen then.
And I'm glad
there's thousands and thousands.
But hold on here.
And don't fool yourself. There's thousands of protesters that are protesting peacefully, and they're being heard. It's the anarchy afterwards that they're not listening to.
So, here's what he's saying though. How do we truly know that they're being heard? You don't know that they're truly being heard until you see a form of action from the government. And Kevin, I do agree with you here. What basically what he's saying is it took something drastic for them to actually start to listen. They really haven't listened too much yet,
right?
And I get exactly.
But we're there. We've arrived.
Yeah, we have arrived. Yeah.
But what he's saying is peaceful protests. Honestly, and he is right. Peaceful protests, our government just laughs at them. Kind of, they really do.
There's a saying: peaceful protesters are ones that want to be heard, and riots come from people that feel they're never heard.
Yeah, the problem is, sorry, I was going to say, the problem is we live in an instant gratification society, and so real protesting is difficult because nobody wants to do the peaceful. Okay, we've been ignored. We're going to have to do something to grab some attention. Okay, no, it's like nowadays with instant gratification, people just want to jump right to the let's destroy shit. No, no, you know, it's like that's not how protesting works. Yes, sometimes it can be called for to do that kind of stuff, but that's only after you've exhausted all the peaceful options, after you've tried to take the higher ground. Because if you immediately go for the lower ground, you're just a pig in the mud like everybody else.
Yeah, and they're starting the riots before the protesting even. You know, I mean, some of these states started off with the burning and the everything else besides, you know, without even trying to protest, right? And that's coming from these groups. You throw somebody that's got, you know, some heated ideas into some people that are already heated and already feeling oppression, you're going to get reaction. So it only takes one or two to make them all start going crazy.
And his point, I think, and Kevin, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but his point is that I think that there's been many protests and even riots before this. And guess what? Did our government really do anything about any of those people who were killed by cops? Who, you know, our cops are so protected, and the good ones should be, but there's shitty ones out there. And we know this, and after you go into the Eagle Nation stuff, you know, you kind of understand this too. But I do get Kevin's sentiment here that many protests before this they have not obtained any results.
I understand what he means as well.
I'm not justifying.
I'm not sure how he feels about where we're at right now, but for me, it's like the attention has been gotten. We have arrived in that sense. So it's like right now, to stop muddying the water, we need the rioting and shit to stop. Because that is muddying the water, and it's provoking officers. See, and that's why somebody with an agenda could be manipulating this situation. Because as long as they manipulate regular people to get out there and trigger the cops, it continues to be a big shit show.
Yep.
You see what I mean? So that's what's wrong here, and that's why we all have to keep our eyes open and see if we as citizens can try to suss out where the trouble's coming in. I mean, that requires maybe people being on the ground, but we got to figure out where this bad element's coming from. And ultimately, I'd like to trace it back to where its source is. That may be a dream, of course, but I'd love it if that were possible to figure out who is pumping in people to make things.
And that kind of money. That has to be an organized thing. They're coming from everywhere, going everywhere. Think about the states that are involved in this.
Right. And look, it's like the little mom and pop shops who have been praying to open for the last 2.5 months because our government failed us with COVID.
Yeah.
Best thing they could come up with was to lock us all up in our houses for 3 months. Right. And so now they've completely exacerbated the situation. And now numbnuts Chauvin over in Minneapolis goes and sets off a powder keg.
Yep.
And now we got a bunch of other people piling on. It's like, come on, people.
Yeah.
Stop. There's a good chance we could get real change here. Good change. Good.
Yeah, I agree.
You guys, if you watched my video yesterday, I showed a tweet from Jerome Buting. He had retweeted a Senator Amash, where Senator Amash is looking to put forward a bill to wipe out the qualified immunity that the Supreme Court has been they've been kind of gutting the old law that used to govern, you know, whether or not citizens could sue agents of the state. They've been gutting that law for years and building up this whole qualified immunity thing. Senator Mash wants to go ahead and make law and wipe out qualified immunity and stop the Supreme Court from cobbling together this BS
Corruption.
to protect cops. And so that's the kind of thing that's going to help. Folks, I know I've warned you about, watch out in times like this and watch out for legislation. And I still want you to watch out for this one.
Oh, yeah.
This one's good. Okay? This one's not looking to remove anything from us. Okay? This one is looking to remove an ability from the Supreme Court. The ability for them to make up this thing called qualified immunity.
It makes sense.
Exactly. That's all that this bill would do, is it would just stop the Supreme Court from doing that, so that then law enforcement and hopefully even prosecutors can become, they will meet with consequences, or they can meet with consequences, so they will therefore be more careful with their actions.
Right.
If they know that they could be personally liable, they'll be more careful.
Sure.
It's
just like outside. It's just like outsourcing an investigation. You have to have it outsourced in order to be fair. You also have to have people be accountable for what they're doing in order for it to be fair, or it's just setting up for corruption. That's completely the way it is. It's just allowing corruption to happen.
Mm-hmm. And so that's that's what we got to look out for, folks. I mean, I know it's difficult, but we kind of need to figure out where this negative element's coming from that's spurring this whole thing on. To my mind, the level of outrage I see across the board in this country right now, this rioting and looting makes no sense. The proper outrage is there. It's there. Everybody feels it. And so continuing to destroy our communities is unhelpful. That's point blank. It's unhelpful at this point. It's not helping. Everybody's aware. Everybody's on board. And you're just destroying more and more people's lives.
Well, here's another thing I'd like to bring up, in that these protesters that go and block and try breaking windows of vehicles that are trying to get by and just go normal everyday life. What are they going to do when everybody starts carrying now and they're getting shot? They're going to cry wolf. You didn't have to shoot me. Well, if you're trying to bust the windows out, you're trying to bust the windows out of a vehicle with a family in it.
They're just trying to get by.
The shit out of kids. I mean, I'm sorry, if I was put in that position.
Yeah,
there's going to be a protect on whoever's trying to do it.
Yeah.
And nothing but a stump says the anarchy, and it's exactly what the after dark cowardice acts have completely changed what they should be trying to achieve right now. You can't even see George Floyd anymore. That's what pisses her off.
Yeah, it's right. It's becoming less about George Floyd.
Yep.
I'm guaranteeing you, everybody you see out there rioting and looting and hurting people, anybody, all of those, I guarantee you, probably more than half of them won't even remember George Floyd's name.
Exactly.
Okay? Those people out there aren't doing this for George Floyd, and they won't remember his name.
No, okay? They're not doing it for that. They're doing it to create racial war, and that's what I believe.
Political agenda. Some people could just be looting because they just want a nice flat screen TV in their house. Any number of reasons.
Yeah.
But it's personal, selfish desire. Nothing.
Taking advantage of a bad situation.
Yeah, it is. It's total selfish, personal selfish desire. There's just no other room for it at this point. Look, okay, at this point, how long are you going to carry it on? Because everybody's outraged. So how long is this destruction going to go on? Why are you better than Chauvin? If you guys are out there destroying our country right now, why are you better than Chauvin? What is it? Why should I think you're any less of a jackass than he is?
Yeah.
Riddle me that.
Stop.
Yeah, riddle me
people
that.
People are begging you to. Innocent people are getting hurt, so that's what has to stop. Come on.
I mean, You want to pretend that you're outraged about what happened to George Floyd, and you want to go and kill. You guys saw the tweet I shared with you 2 nights ago. That guy killed in the crosswalk in Texas, a store owner who was just trying to protect his business. And
the guy shooting off the bow and arrow at people that are in the crowds. You know, them are people that are trying to hurt people and make it look like the cops are doing it when the cops run at you to try to stop this. They're making it look like, oh, that cop's attacking me, when actually he was shooting off a bow and arrow at the crowd.
Right.
My personal opinion, and it's just my opinion, is that I believe Antifa is behind a lot of this.
I agree.
And
They've named him already here. They have named him publicly on television today.
And I do believe that, the president naming them as a terrorist organization is correct.
Yeah. That's exactly what they are.
Right now, I'll say this. Our president doesn't always wait for the proof on things. But if the proof is there that Antifa is behind this, then yes, I agree 100%. If the proof isn't there, I want the ones who the proof points to. You know what I mean? That's all. I don't want a wrongful conviction.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not saying
Let's not give the wrong credit.
But I just want to be sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
but the thing is too. I mean, about them, and not to pin it on them. I think that they have some involvement. I think they've got a lot of involvement. They're cowards. They're covering up their faces. They're hiding. Because they know they're doing they're doing criminal acts.
Yep. Yeah. And they have to be a well-financed group, because they're bringing, they're traveling all over the place in big cars, in SUVs, vans, and fancy cars, and they're loaded up in them, and you cannot see their windows. I mean, you cannot see it. It is blacked out, and they have no license plates, and they're driving hellacious on the roads. They come in and they pull into different areas and park there and drive there, and they get out in little groups, and then until other groups start forming, and then they start revving it up. I seen it happening at the Midway in St. Paul, where the fire started the next day, and it was completely contrived. You could see it happening. I watched it unfold.
Right. So, right now, to illustrate for you guys how even law enforcement in this situation recognizes that there's a problem, I'm going to show you guys something here. So, this is a Facebook post from the City of Neenah, Wisconsin Police Department. A statement from Neenah Police Chief Aaron Olson. Okay? So, as police officers, we take an oath to protect our community and to have the courage to hold ourselves accountable for our actions through independent civilian review. That's why I feel it's important to speak out about George Floyd's killing, and I regret I didn't do so sooner. I initially thought I was responsible only for the Neenah Police Department and our Neenah community. I have since come to realize that I, along with every member of our department, should not only be held accountable by the citizens of Neenah, but we should and need to be held accountable on an even broader scale, as does all law enforcement. Okay, that's interesting. Every member of your department, that's admirable. I mean, these are admirable words, obviously, from Aaron Olson, right?
Okay.
So, like many of you, I've watched the extremely disturbing video of Mr. George Floyd's untimely death in Minneapolis. I was yelling at my computer monitor, "Get off of him! And why is no other officer stopping this?" I am deeply saddened by his death and very angered by the actions of those few Minneapolis police officers responsible for it. These are not the actions of people who should wear a badge. We as human beings need to be better. We as law enforcement officers need to be much better. What happened to George Floyd was wrong. Plain and simple. I do not condone the actions of those Minneapolis officers or any officers who use their positions of authority to inflict harm onto others. Being a police officer is a difficult job, but it's also a very rewarding job. Medals, yeah. We have to make split-second decisions that most people can't imagine, but do so with a vast amount of training. At Neenah PD, our officers are regularly trained in de-escalation, proper arrest protocols, and so much more. Our department conducts very detailed investigations into each incident in which use of force has been applied by one of our police officers. These incidents are investigated by a supervisor, then reviewed by our professional standards lieutenant, our professional staff captain, our chief, and finally by me, your police chief, if you live in Neenah. Anyway, are we perfect? Absolutely not. And we will never make that claim. We are human. We make mistakes. Okay. That's why our professional standards lieutenant does an outstanding job of making sure all of our officers have the best training possible to protect our community. We never want what happened to George Floyd to happen to anyone else.
Really?
As your police chief, I try my best to be very open with you. If you want to have a conversation with me, we'll make it happen. If any citizen sees a Neenah Police Department officer doing something wrong, file a complaint with us in person, by mail, by phone, or online. I may have a suggestion for you tonight, folks. Hold us accountable. We take each complaint seriously and we'll investigate each one. If you see a Neenah Police Department officer doing something good, I want to know about that too. My email is aolson@ci.neenah.wi.us.
Write it down, guys.
You know,
we need to flood him.
Well, you know,
and remind him about a certain situation. That's what we need to do. Let's give him a quick reminder of what his department has done, since he's not perfect.
There you go, guys.
Yeah.
So, but I gotta say, I absolutely agree with the spirit of this letter. Okay, and literally, Linda is like choking back rage at the moment right now as I'm saying all these things, right? But
yes.
seriously, I agree with the sentiment of these words. What I have questions of is whether or not they're sincere.
Yeah.
That really is my question, because, folks, I am going to play for you now. Again, I played it last night, but we're going to play it again now. Something that happened in Neenah in 2015 when this guy, Mr. Aaron Olson, was not the police chief. So he really has no skin in the game in terms of this incident that happened in 2015. But yet he continues to make excuses for it. He continues to do everything he can to minimize it and act like there was nothing wrong. So I'm going to show you guys that clip again right now. Let me just get it ready. And like I say, I mean, if Officer Olson is sincere, or if Chief Olson is sincere, then I think you should take a look at this case. You know, the Michael Funk Eagle Nation case, because what happened shouldn't have happened. And the video that I'm about to play illustrates that all too clearly.
Yeah. Whew.
Don't go over here. Go through my helmet.
No, Let's go. No, you're not good. We got enough guys there.
No, we don't. Have enough.
Listen.
You know you can't go back there right now.
You can't go back.
And there was fucking 3 dudes or 4 dudes in there. I just saw the one. There was nobody in there as a hostage. No, fuck that.
Fucking assholes.
Hold on, it's falls in the back.
Now watch, guys. Ugh.
If you fucking run out that back door, I'm gonna fucking unload on you.
This is him. 109. More shots fired. He's
Oh my god.
I still hate seeing it every time.
God, I can't watch it anymore. Kills me.
But it's important to watch, folks.
It is.
He did not say, and you saw him say that afterwards, folks. Just pointing that out for later.
Got shot in the head. Yeah, and I went and got checked out, and they said I'm fine.
Lie.
No, they didn't. Liar.
I feel like I'm fine to go back. They said yes.
Lie.
No, liar.
I didn't go unconscious. They checked my eyes. They said I do not have. Dude,
She said, do not go back.
Yeah, I got shot in the fucking head. What do you expect? I did. I already did. Yeah. Killed the dude. Oh, sorry. That nice phone with me. Where is he now? Where is the dude? Nothing. He backed him out. The gun's still up there. He had one right in the headlight.
Got one in the headlights. What an asshole.
So you guys got a camera on right now? You going the entire time. Okay.
Okay, folks, I want you to listen very carefully here to an officer that was on scene that had not been hit in the helmet by a bullet and what they perceived in the situation.
He was hiding behind the truck, so it wasn't like a. My impression was the victim trying to run away. He was.
Okay. Just by.
Shooter still inside.
Did you hear that? Yeah, it was a victim trying to run away. That kills me every single time.
Yeah.
First of all, you are not going back in there. They have enough. Okay, told to stand down. Once, twice, told to stand down.
Right.
Then he's proud of what he's done. Oh, we got it in the headlights. Oh, yeah, I got him. We got him in the headlights. And then, which we don't see, but he also does, is called his wife and tells his wife that it's like shooting a deer. And his buddy says, oh, he moved. I had to give him a couple more shots. That stuff is way beyond disturbing to me. Okay. It's one thing to shoot somebody without warning. Let's put it there too. Okay. Because they knew that was a hostage. They had already been warned about what everybody was wearing. They had already been in the building and shots went off and they seen, and their own shots are what got Hopper in the head. Okay. So one of his own guys should have aimed a little bit lower.
No, sorry. David Starr brought in somebody that determined it was from Hoff. It was from Flat Offs.
Flat Off. Okay.
Right.
Well,
They something about the trajectory of the bullet. They figured out that it would have had to been. I think it was. So just wanted to clear that up because I don't want Mr. Olsen.
Right. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't want to
believe I'm trying to. Yeah. So
yeah,
I want to make sure we're clear on what did happen. So and so I'm impressed here with with Chief Olsen saying that where was it up here? I try my best to be very open. I want you to have a conversation with me. Tell you what, Chief, you want to come over here on my channel?
Yeah.
We could do this when I come to Wisconsin next, but personally, I don't want to go and walk into a dusty, stupid office with you and have you dictating what can be talked about. No, come out here and meet me in the open, dude. Come out here, right here.
Any one of us.
You know what?
Any one of
You're
us.
so sorry about what happened to George Floyd. You want to prove it? Yeah. You want to put your money where your mouth is, essentially, or you want to put some actions behind these words?
Yeah. And if you feel intimidated by a man, here, I'm a woman. Come on and talk to me. Feel free. I would love to hear what you have to say about that action that went on. Not only that one, but there's a few other actions that you have done that that your officers, have done that I've seen with cameras, cannot no doubt say, And then they turn around and say they didn't even know the person, but then they kill the person. Geez, that sounds just a little too funny to me. Something going on. Some answers needed.
Yeah. And, you know, I want to know why, Chief Olson, why you keep referring to the DOJ investigation that looked into Michael Funk. Like you think that somehow absolves you from having to be aware of this or what happened here, or from having to care about it. That DOJ investigation is a joke, dude. Everything that Neenah Police Department did regarding Michael Funk was a joke. You guys completely forgot the hostages in this. Utterly. No grief counseling, no nothing. You guys literally left them raw and just exposed.
Oh my God, yes.
Throwing salt in the wound as you guys were handing out awards to yourselves.
Yeah.
For what you'd done.
Yeah. Make no mistake, they got rewarded for this.
Yeah, you want to be good on this, Aaron? Seriously, dude. You mean this? You come and meet me here. Right here. David Starr came on your turf, and you told the press a lie. You were, well, I'll put it another way. You weren't completely truthful about something that David Starr had said. So, no, we're not going to do it behind locked doors and all that crap. We're going to do it right out here in the open. And if you really mean this, what you said today, and I was moved by it, let me tell you, I agree with the sentiment of these words.
Yep.
I just don't know if you are sincere.
I don't think so.
So come on and let me know if you are.
Challenge.
Me calling you out, Chief Olson. 100%.
Chief Olson challenge. Hashtag Chief Olson challenge. Let's get it out there.
So that's
I'm with you.
Gauntlet is thrown down. So, I mean, and hey, look, I'm not looking to get combative with you, Chief Olson, but I really want you to answer these questions. You can clearly see in that video what's going on.
Look, there's
no explanation for the fact that Hopper was ordered twice, to stay out of it. And then when he finally runs into Kufel, the commanding officer, he tells Kufel that he was cleared by medical.
Lies. 3 times does it.
You can't put a rubber stamp on this, Chief. If you mean the words that you wrote on Facebook today, you can't rubber stamp that and say
reopen the case. Reopen the case. Reopen the case.
You need an independent investigation done.
Yep.
You need an independent investigation. I don't want the Wisconsin DOJ.
No.
I don't need more of the likes of Tom Fassbender coming over and covering your butt for you. Okay?
Yeah.
No, independent investigation. Okay? If you want, I'll ask a retired FBI agent I know if he might even be willing to head up the independent investigation.
There we go. Let's get a man.
If you need some help with that, I can't speak for him. I would have to ask him first. But if you need some help with that, I could ask.
Yeah.
So
that's a man with integrity.
Chief. And like I said, I'm here if you want to talk. But we're doing it here in front of everybody, not in a behind closed doors session like you did before. So that's where we're at. All right. You guys got anything else to say, Jamie?
No, I just, I hope real change comes about within the departments as far as their training.
Agreed.
Once you have somebody detained, there's no need for that, and you can. They know this. They absolutely know this.
Yes.
This. My thought is, and somebody said it earlier. Could it be a power trip? Sure. I do know that cops, after they get frustrated. Some of them can, and they take that out on the people that they're arresting. And I honestly, I've only seen a couple of clips of the video, and I really don't care to watch it anymore, just because I stand where I stand. The officer was completely wrong. The other 3 officers that did not say something, they're wrong too. And even though I don't know if there's full charges coming on them, but there should be some pretty strong reprimand for them not saying something. And I don't even who was the lead officer. I don't recall who the highest ranking officer was when this was happening, but
At Eagle Nation?
no, I'm talking
for George Floyd.
For George Floyd.
It seems the consensus is Chauvin was the ranking.
Was-
Well, at least
and, yeah.
he had the most experience.
They
So
weren't
the
even
other
the
officers
first one.
defaulted to him.
Right. They weren't even
Sure.
the first ones there, is what Nutton's saying. Only thing I know is there was 3 of them on top of him, okay, besides Chauvin. So that's way too many when you're handcuffed down on the ground up
Yeah.
against the car. And what was the reason why he got pulled out of the car? Because he was in the car. So I would like to know that.
One of the things that I think that officers need to be trained in as well is the fact of panic when, and I've heard disputes about him saying, well, he could talk when he was saying he couldn't breathe, so that means he's breathing. Well, when you deal with people with panic and anxiety, especially in a situation like that, I mean, you can be short of breath, and it could send you into a panic attack and heart racing, and
Right.
they're trying to put these
But they're
types
not.
of things.
Yeah, they're not now. They really are going with the one that said that he was asphyxiated.
Well, and then there was a few years back ago that there was I can't remember where this was at, but there was a mentally challenged guy in a theater that wouldn't leave. He wanted to stay and watch this movie again. I can't even remember what it was. And they cuffed him, and he went into a full-blown panic attack, and he ended up dying from this. And I don't know, remember the exacts of it, but I remember it happening, and it's been quite a few years ago. But they need to be able to recognize some of those things. And I mean, yes, people could use that against them to get out of cuffs and whatnot, but they need to be figuring out how to identify those that are real and not ignore signs.
Oh, Jamie, they were telling the guy to get up and get in the car. Get up and get in the car. The guy's going, I can't. You're on my back. I can't move. What do they want from him? They're telling him to get up. They're telling him to quit moving. And the guy's trying to breathe. And he's breathing because he's talking. I mean, get your shit together, guys. You're supposed to be professionals. You should know how to handle one single guy. There's 4 of you. He's handcuffed up against a car. Does it really take a freaking brain surgeon? No, it don't. Use your mind. That guy, he wanted to show off. He wanted to do something. I don't know what his power trip was, but he has a long list of issues with race and things like that. And this all needs to be taken a look at. They all need to go through certain kind of trainings every 3 months or whatever, depending on what they deal with. But if you're going to be like that, we don't need you. What kind of protection is that?
Well, you bring up something that's a really good
You sound like you're in a pool.
can you hear me now? I'm moving. I was moving around. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
You brought up a really good assessment there, and this goes to the Philando Castilla case as well. When what you were just saying here is they were very contradictory with their orders. Get up and get in the car, yet they're on his back.
Yeah.
They did this with Philando Castillo as well when they told him to get out his
See
license.
your license.
But then when he tells him he's got a concealed weapon permit and he goes to get his permit and his license, they shoot him anyway. They told him to get his license.
Yes.
They were very contradictory in their orders.
And he was very cooperative.
He was. Yeah,
he always was.
Extremely cooperative.
The
he
kids
warned
at
the
the
police
school
before.
The kids at the school where Philando Castile worked as like a kitchen worker or whatever I think it was or something. But he worked at a school with kids, and all the kids called him, basically the African American Mr. Rogers. That's what he was like, Mr. Rogers. Like all these kids loved him.
Right. He was extremely forthright in telling the officer that he had a gun and that he had,
Exactly.
you know,
He was trying to do
he
everything
told them
right.
before he was even asked, and they still shot him through the passenger's window, through over his girlfriend in front of his child. Now, the last cop that shot somebody through the pass, right through his partner, out the window, and killed that Australian woman. I'm sorry, I do not remember her name. That does not mean that I have disrespect. I just don't remember her name. That cop went to jail. Not 9 years is not good enough if you ask me. But who knows what his life is going to be like in there in one of our fine prisons we have here.
Right.
Well, quite honestly, I mean that case there, as if it's kept quiet about who he is, probably not much will happen because he was a very young police officer. He was I don't want to say he was still in training, but he was
new to the
very
force.
young and not as experienced.
Yeah, well,
Right.
he'll be young and not experienced in jail too. So good for him.
Very true.
You know, I'm sorry, I don't have no sympathies for people that have that kind of power and do not think before they pull a trigger, because you cannot take a life back. That's just like killing an innocent man, which we just seen again. Now that's 2 that I know of in the last 3 months. So I got to tell you, it's time that we think. Wake up, people. Let's get our justice system to get back to where it's supposed to be for the people and convict the wrong, not wrongly convict.
Yeah, one other thing I'd like to bring up though is that, and I watched this video, but there was it was a compilation of videos, and that was the one sheriff in I don't know the location, but he marched with the people. That's the type of stuff that needs to be happening. Is the our law enforcement, you know, for one, showing sympathy for what happened and also advocating for those. Now the on the flip side, it kind of goes to what you're saying here with Aaron Olson. This officer, maybe he wasn't in a community or where this has ever happened before, or there's there's always that risk it could happen, but could it have been a fake show? It could have been, but it is the sentiment for law enforcement to start looking into this stuff and looking at the retraining, looking at being more effective in the community as far as bringing them together.
Yes, I think they need to be able to be trusted. We do not trust them. And there's plenty of reason not to. I'm not going to deny that. But if you were working within your community, if you had cops that would walk around in the community and get to know the community instead of profiling people, and it would work so much better. We all work better as a team. That's just a proven fact.
Well, and we also do know that the bigger cities that are, you do have more of these problems. The New Yorks, the Minneapolis, the LA.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's all I was getting at is some places the officers don't see these kind of interactions as much as you would in a bigger city, is all I was kind of getting at.
That's very true. Like you're safe. If somebody comes around you, they're going to get led all right.
Well, and that's another thing. You know what? Paul just sent me something. There's another thing to remember about the George Floyd situation, folks, is that it appears that Chauvin and Floyd actually worked security at
yes, they did
the same club at one point.
Yes, they did.
So you got to wonder if maybe there was some rivalry potentially, and if maybe that's why Chauvin was sitting there with such a smug look on his face with his hands in his pocket, trying to act like he was the big man holding this guy down with one hand in his pocket.
And you know what?
Although you got to take into account the other guy that was on Floyd's chest. But I don't know. Anyways, no, but yeah, it's absolutely.
It gives you something to think about for sure. But it makes no bit of difference to me. The guy killed him straight out. What more proof do you need? There you go. Convict. Put him away.
Yep.
And that's
we all witnessed a murder.
Paul points out also the fact that Hopper knew Michael Funk. Hopper claims he didn't, but I can show you
Oh,
a video.
yes, he did.
I can show you a video
Right
from
on.
a month before Hopper kills Michael Funk, where they are inside Eagle Nation Cycles, literally three
inches away.
feet
Yeah.
away from each other, talking to each other.
Yeah.
So, anyway. All right. And the last thing, Chief Olson, is, about that DOJ investigation. That DOJ investigation did not ask one single question of any hostage. How do you call that an investigation?
Can't.
That's my other question for you. So if you're brave enough, sir, let's see it. Let's see you come out here and let's see you answer these questions. Or if maybe you have a change of heart. Maybe those words I saw printed on Nina PD's Facebook page today actually meant something. And maybe you have a heart and you know that what happened at Eagle Nation Cycles was wrong and lies were told.
And you'll reopen the
Be
case.
honest, dude. You weren't there. You weren't the chief. Don't get yourself caught up in this. Just do the right thing, dude. Come on.
No.
All right.
Do the
I'm
right
gonna let
thing.
it go there. So thank you guys for being with me, Linda and Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you. Everybody be safe. Be smart, okay? Protest with kindness.
And folks, I'm going to probably be continuing to cover this subject for the rest of the week because right now this is the thing that is going to allow us to create a great deal of attention and awareness, not only just for George Floyd, but for other
Real.
Things like it. Other instances like
Michael Bell.
Michael
Funk.
Michael Bell is another one. So I mean, there's other instances. So
execution.
We should be creating awareness for George Floyd, but at the same time creating awareness for the other people like George Floyd who no longer have a voice, and make people aware that this crap is just unacceptable. We need to remove qualified immunity, not only for police officers, but for prosecutors as well. So that's my rant for the night, folks. Hope you guys.
That is hell not gonna take it no more.
And Jamie's gonna go finish filling his pool, and he's gonna probably jump in with a cocktail.
There he goes.
So this water's a little bit cold for that.
So
maybe after a few.
Well, thank you, Eric.
Maybe after a few. Yeah. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Thank you for being here, Linda. And okay, so everybody out there, thank you for showing up. Thank you for tuning in. Share this video. Feel free to tweet it, email it to Officer Olson. I left the email address for you guys up there. But email this video to him. Let's see what happens. Share this thing around and get some notice. Get the Michael Funk situation noticed. At this time when people are attuned to they're basically acclimated to this type of thing right now because of what's gone on with George Floyd. They're willing to entertain and try to understand better situations like this. So let's try to create as much awareness as possible. Alrighty, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. We'll see you.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good night.
Yep. Bye.
Mm-hmm.